My husband, 32M, and I, 29F, have been married for 2 years. His dad and stepmom are going through an ugly divorce, so his half-brother, 17M, has moved in with us to live for a year until he starts college. My husband loves his brother, treats him like a little kid, and is overprotective of him. I find the brother-in-law's behavior obnoxious, and we are having too many arguments over this. He's been with us for only a month and a half, and I can't stand it. I really don't think I can put up with it for a year. It started with him making messes and throwing away leftovers. Since I do most of the cooking and cleaning, it was increasing my workload. My husband's list of chores has not increased with his presence, so he was dismissive of my complaints. Since my husband wasn't saying anything, I tried telling him to pick up after himself. My brother-in-law retaliated by slapping my rear. Anytime I tell him to do something, he hits my rear hard and laughs. My husband told him to knock it off, but he keeps doing it, and my husband treats it as if he's just playing around. No big deal. Not only is it very disrespectful, but it's also really painful. After that, he started randomly picking me up and carrying me around. I am a little over 5 feet and 120 pounds, and he's a tall, stocky guy. I hate it, and my husband just thinks he's goofing around and trying to be friends with me. I work from home, and the other day when it was just him and me in the house, he picked me up and ran with me to my bedroom and threw me on the bed. It really scared me, but he just laughed at me and left. My husband thinks I am being dramatic by being scared of this. I feel like his behavior is escalating, but my husband tells me to act like the adult and not blow up over a kid's playfulness. I am anxious every day, and I am seriously thinking of moving out, though it'll be difficult to afford it. I don't know what else to do. I don't feel safe in our home. Edit. Thank you so much for your comments and for validating me. My husband had me confused in believing that I was overreacting. I'm so relieved to hear from so many people that this is as dangerous and bad as I feel. I have packed a bag in my car with some important belongings and documents. I called and talked to my mother-in-law early in the morning. She's always been very nice to me, and at my wedding, she told me she thinks of me as her daughter. My mom passed away when I was young, and I don't have any siblings, so that had moved me very much. I was nervous about talking to her because I didn't want to ruin that relationship, but she was so shocked when she heard the details. She said she talked to my husband and father-in-law and that this was an unacceptable situation. She told me to come stay with her until it gets resolved. My brother-in-law is out with his friends until tomorrow for the 4th of July, so it gives me some time to have one more detailed discussion with my husband. I'm also going to show him this Reddit post, and hopefully, his mom's talk and these comments will be a wake-up call. Update 1. I am very appreciative of everyone who commented on my last post and gave me encouragement. I wasn't able to resolve this issue with my husband, and I have moved out. I'm trying to come to terms with the fact that this is the end of my marriage. My mother-in-law was on my side and talked to my husband about this situation, but he got more annoyed with me because he saw this as me creating more drama between his mother and father. I showed him the Reddit post I made in the comments, and he accused me of presenting things in a lurid manner to get people on my side. He didn't even read all the discussions, he just got enraged and closed the tab. My mother-in-law also talked to my father-in-law, who came down on my brother-in-law about his behavior. His father told him to leave our house and move in with him. My brother-in-law refused, saying he wants to stay with my husband. My husband came up with the solution that my brother-in-law was to stay in his room, and I should stay in my bedroom, lock the door, and not get out until he got home from work. This pissed me off even more. I had packed a bag and my documents, thinking of leaving anyway. My father-in-law talked to me and said that he doesn't like that we aren't getting along, and my brother-in-law will no longer stay with us. But the next day, my brother-in-law came into the house with a group of his friends. I simply grabbed my laptop and left. I'm so grateful to the people who suggested that I be packed and ready to go. I already had everything in my car and could leave with what I needed immediately. I'm staying with my mother-in-law now. She is flabbergasted by my husband, who's told her that he'll never ask a close family member to leave his house. It is clear that my husband doesn't even like me, much less care about me at all. He hasn't spoken to me since I left. I'm trying to figure out what I should do next. I obviously can't stay with my mother-in-law for long, especially since I need to start the divorce process. I could move back in with my dad, but he lives in another state and that'll make things hard. I don't have any savings, and I am short on money. The majority of my paycheck goes into half of the mortgage and utilities on our house. We have a combined joint account. I have been foolishly spending a lot on decorating the house instead of saving up, and I suppose all that is gone now. I need to figure out my money situation so I can support myself. Update 2. A few of you have been messaging me asking for updates, and for those who still care to know, the update is that my husband and I are getting divorced. We have been separated since I left home at that time. The house has been sold, and I got the equity out of it. I got some kitchen appliances and some decor back, but for the most part, I lost the money I spent on furnishings. But that's okay, it could have been worse. After my last post, I separated my money out, hired a lawyer, and handled utilities so I wouldn't be paying anything. My ex was shocked by my actions. He was waiting to call my bluff and couldn't believe I'd go so far so quickly. He didn't take my leaving seriously because I was staying at his mom's house. We had more arguments, and I started realizing that he never would really hear me. He was always so focused on being right and having his way that he could twist reality to fit his needs. Looking back, it was always like that in our relationship, but I was in love and a pushover. We went into marital counseling. I agreed to go mostly because I wanted an acknowledgement from him that what went on was messed up, and also because my mother-in-law really pushed me to try to make it work with him. It was all a crap show because he denied a lot of egregious things and presented the issues as minor things that I was twisting up. He stuck to his viewpoint that my brother-in-law was simply goofing around, and I got offended because I haven't had siblings and don't know how they mess around with each other. After a few weeks of counseling, my ex agreed to have my brother-in-law move out, but he was acting as if he made this huge sacrifice for me, and I didn't believe it. I had already checked out of this relationship and knew I couldn't trust him anymore. My mother-in-law was very disappointed that I still wanted a divorce after her son compromised. I had moved out of her house after a month of staying with her. I stopped contributing to the mortgage payments and got my own apartment. It was a risky thing to do, but I decided I'd take that hit to my credit history for my independence. I bet that it'd matter more to him, and that forced his hand into selling the house. It was sold as soon as it got on the market, so that was a huge relief. All my decorating paid off in that way at least. I've stayed in touch with my mother-in-law and heard from her that my ex moved into a small apartment and my brother-in-law had moved back with his father. I also heard from some mutual friends that he's been telling everyone that the divorce is happening because I was jealous and controlling and tried to separate him from his family, and I was a nagging harpy to his baby brother. He already has a new girlfriend who's more family-oriented. I am waiting for the final divorce decree to be signed, and I hope there are no problems or delays there. I know many of you wanted me to make a police report about my brother-in-law, but I didn't feel safe doing that. I don't have a support system that I can rely on if things go wrong, and I want to walk away from this with minimum harm. Many people have chided me for not hitting back, but at no point did I think I could do that and get away without taking a beating. I suppose I am not a very brave person, but I think I am looking at my chances realistically and doing what I can to keep myself reasonably safe.